Part 1 Country Profile Project, Germany. A brief history on Germany. The nation of Germany, in a sense, is an ancient entity dating back several centuries. It was not until the 19th century when Prime Minister Otto von Bismarck brought together the German-speaking kingdoms to form the German Empire in 1871. This empire quickly became Europe's leading power and acquired colonies in Africa and the Pacific. After World War One, economic depression, political strife, and widespread unemployment followed and led to the rise of the Nazi Party under Adolf Hitler. After gaining power in 1933, Hitler established the Third Reich and embarked on a crusade to conquer Europe and eradicate Jews, Romas, and others. The Allied powers successfully brought down the Third Reich and divided the country into West and East Germany. In 1990, there was a popular and peaceful uprising which overthrew the East German government and united the country as one, establishing Berlin as its capital. Germany joined NATO in 1955 and the European Union in 1958, solidifying itself as a major power in the world. By 2015, Germany had accepted approximately 1 million refugees in the wake of the revolutions of the Arab Spring and the Syrian civil war, more than any EU nation.
The federal government of Germany regards national minorities as population groups who meet the following 5 criteria. They are German nationals, they differ from the majority population in having their own language, culture, history, and thus their own distinct identity. They wish to maintain this identity. They have traditionally resided in Germany, usually for centuries, and they live in Germany within traditional settlement areas. Before continuing, it's important to note that all the population numbers on this slide are estimates because there are no population or socio-economic statistics on the basis of ethnicity that have been collected since World War II in Germany. This is mainly due to the persecution of ethnic minorities under the Nazi regime. There are 4 officially recognized national minorities in Germany, all of which are also indigenous to Germany. The Danes, who have been present in Germany since the 7th century in the southern Schleswig region. Only between 10 and 20,000 have Danish as their mother tongue. The Frisians have been present in Germany since the 6th century in the North and East Frisia regions in northern Germany. The Sorbs are a Slavic ethnic group located in the Lusatia region in western Germany since the 6th century, divided between the states of Saxony and Brandenburg. The German Sinti and Roma have been present in Germany since the 14th century throughout all regions. The Roma are travelers, but today the majority are homeless, stateless, and victims of violent racist attacks and harassment. They were officially recognized as a minority in 1997. The Roma people are not citizens of Germany. Most maintain a Duldung status, which is a tolerated status. This restricts their movement, access to employment, and access to social assistance. The Roma are the most discriminated group out of all the minorities, mainly due to their darker skin. This brings up the question of racism in Germany. Could the fact that there are no statistical measures based on ethnicity be contributing to the overall problem?
Germany, to many, is referred to as the country of poets, thinkers, and businessmen. The country is best known for their classical musicians such as Bach, Beethoven, Brahms, Schubert, and Handel, to name a few. They are also known for their beer and drinking habits, their sausages, punctuality, seriousness, celebratory behavior, sports championships such as the Bundesliga, and lastly, their beautiful hiking scenery. The Germans value punctuality and structure, rule following, strong family values, and international travel. The Germans actually spend more money on this than any other European country. This fact was obtained from the website Expatrio. Additionally, they value hearty meals like meat, bread, potatoes, and take pride in their automotive industry. Germany is actually very progressive in terms of their policies concerning gender equality and immigration and the promotion of environmental sustainability. 75% of Germans are urban dwellers, and 3/4 of Germans living in cities participate in high-rise urban gardening. This fact was also obtained from the website Expatrio. Germans like to take care of one another. For example, if they stumble upon somebody's forgotten items outside, they'll hang it on one of the lowest branches for people to easily spot their lost item should they return looking for it. Lastly, religion also plays a role in German society. A large amount of society in Germany is either Christian or Catholic, although other religions are practiced too.
Germany has a very educated population. Compulsory education begins at age 6 in Germany, but 94% of 3 to 5-year-olds are enrolled in early childhood education programs. If you look on the graph to your right, you can see that Germany has the OECD beat when it comes to enrollment rates of 1-year-olds, 2-year-olds, and 3 to 5-year-olds in primary education. Additionally, 46% of 25 to 34-year-old German residents hold upper secondary, non-tertiary qualifications as their highest education level. This is the population that Germany will rely on for economic recovery during and after the pandemic. Additionally, 25 to 34-year-old German residents have completed their tertiary education in 2019. Germany also spends a ton of money into their education. They spent more on primary to tertiary educational institutes per full-time student than the OECD average in 2017. Although Germany spends more into their education, the total expenditure represents a smaller share of their GDP than the OECD average.
As Gia mentioned previously, the stats on ethnicity are all estimates due to the history of the Nazi regime in Germany. As we can see from the pie chart on the left, the majority of Germany is made up by the German ethnicity. This includes the indigenous populations mentioned previously. In terms of religion, the majority of Germans are Roman Catholic, with Protestant and other Christian following close behind. Looking at the population pyramids, we begin to see the story of Germany's demographic transition. Starting in the 60 to 64 age range, we begin to see a slow but steady decrease in number of individuals going until 2025. This is indicative that the population is becoming more urban-centric and high income, with a lower fertility rate. Looking at the fertility rate, we can see the same thing we saw in the population pyramids previously. From 2025 onward, it looks like the population of Germany is going to steady out as the fertility rate evens out to a 1.75 births per woman. This is indicative that there will be no drastic increases or decreases in the population, and that Germany is making that demographic transition to a high-income developed nation. The urbanization graph here is the final piece of evidence of Germany's demographic transition. We can see from 1990 onwards a sharp increase in the number of individuals occupying urban centers. Germany's migration graph shows the story of the Syrian civil war as migration steadily increased from 2012 to 2018. In 2019, legislation passed by the German government restricted immigration to the country and gave more power to immigration and police authorities. Migration rate is still high, though, leading to claims of migrant crime and disorder from the far right. Moving on to measures of health, we see that infant mortality, under 5 mortality, and maternal mortality are all where they're expected to be for a high-income developed country. The notable thing here is the unmet medical needs at such a low percentage. This is indicative that the country of Germany has a healthcare system that is effective and responsive to its participants. The life expectancy is also average at 81.1 years of age. This chart shows again the life expectancy of Germany, being very close to the EU average of 80.9, as well as the gap between male and female of about 5 years. Two of the most prevalent unhealthy behaviors in Germany are binge drinking and daily smoking. The high rates of obesity are evident of that demographic transition, as there is now less free time to exercise, higher rates of work, and more access to unhealthy food. The binge drinking and obesity can also be explained by the culture of cuisine of Germany, being high in ales, cheeses, meats, and carbs. Expanding off of the unhealthy behaviors in the previous slide, we see that the risks to mortality are predominantly from tobacco, alcohol, and dietary risks. We also see that 91% of deaths in Germany are from non-communicable disease, evident of an epidemiological transition from high rates of communicable disease to high rates of non-communicable disease. The chart on the right also shows us the predominant causes of death. Germany's healthcare system operates from a basis of universal coverage and mandatory enrollment into one of two insurance programs. Statutory health insurance is a publicly funded program that covers the majority of health needs, whereas private health insurance is based on individual premiums for needs that go above what can be provided by SHI. Germany spends 11.3% of its GDP on healthcare, and 72% of that money goes towards public healthcare. What's notable is that out-of-pocket spending is capped at 2% of household income, meaning that the German health insurance program will step in to cover costs that exceed that. Regarding German doctors, they operate regionally in state-based level and are funded by sickness funds or salaries, the latter more typical of hospital employees. There is no primary care gatekeeping in Germany either, meaning that patients can seek specialist care without a referral. There is high access to care as well, with 4.3 physicians per 1,000 population. The downsides of the German healthcare system stem mainly from its regionality and its insurance programs. Because physicians operate at a state-based level, there can sometimes be gaps in knowledge. As with any fee-for-service payment system, there can sometimes be higher costs that, when the government attempts to control, may lead to salary gaps and a shortage of physicians in the future.
Germany takes sustainability very seriously. This is shown in the fact they've had their own sustainability development strategy since 2002. In 2015, this plan was adapted to align better with the 17 sustainability development goals put together by the UN. The country has a strong emphasis on the environment, with 1/3 of their energy generated from renewables and their efficiency of water use trending up every year since 2010. The third goal is good health and well-being. Germany addresses this by putting green walls all over their cities that absorb air pollution and convert it to its own biomass. The 11th goal is sustainable cities and communities. Germany is working towards reducing energy consumption and transportation. So far, this is being done by over 100 companies performing energy and sustainability research on a large research campus. These are two examples of how Germany is working on a more global level to strive towards the SDGs. The 6th goal is clean water and sanitation. Germany sponsors a clean water kiosk program in Kenya that serves over 1 million people and supports and empowers the locals. The 16th goal is peace, justice, and strong institutions. Germany reduces spread of arms by securing, registering, and destroying small arms in regions where this is a large safety issue.
Germany has a very strong economy. It has one of the largest national economies in Europe and the 4th largest nominal GDP in the world, with a value of $3.849 trillion in 2019. Also in 2019, Germany had an inflation rate of 1.4% and national debt of $2,270 billion and a 3% unemployment. Germany's exports include cars and vehicle parts, packaged medicaments, petroleum oils, natural gas, broadcasting equipment, and computers. Germany's exports include aircrafts, motor cars and motor caravans, vehicle parts, pharmaceutical products, and human and animal blood.
There are 4 sectors that dominate industry in Germany: automotive, mechanical engineering, chemical, and the electrical industry. The share of industry in gross value added is 22.9%, with manufacturing contributing 23.4% to gross value added in 2017. By comparison, France was 12.7% and the UK was 10.1%. Mittelstand industries are the backbones of the German economy, with 99.6% of German companies being Mittelstand. A Mittelstand company is one with an annual turnover of less than 50 million euros and has less than 500 employees. They are small to medium-sized companies that employ 80% of the country's workforce. Mittelstand companies are typically family-owned with emotional attachments, are independent, have lean hierarchies, customer-oriented, innovative, socially responsible, invest in the workforce, and have strong regional ties.